in our series of Be Prepared webinars, and today's focus is on the UCAS process. We will be recording the session. You'll probably just see a message popped up. This is just so we can share it on our social media and our YouTube channels after, so people can either watch it on demand, or if you want to go back to it and be reminded of anything, you can do. We will anonymise anything that shows up with names, so you don't need to worry about that. It will just be myself and my colleague Megan in the background, who you'll see. My name's Chris. I work for the Student Recruitment and Outreach team here at the university, and Megan is in the background there. She will be manning the chat and just keeping things running smoothly in the background. So first things first then, obviously today's session is about the UCAS process. We will be working through some bits and pieces to discuss with you and explore kind of jargon, dates, deadlines, all those sorts of bits and pieces that make up the UCAS process, which obviously is the way you will apply when you're looking at university and higher education. So to get us started, just to reiterate some of the key things that we've talked about on the most recent webinars. We did one yesterday, which was about researching universities and courses. And I just wanted to kind of highlight a few key bits from those from that webinar before we move on to the main bits for today's session. So questions to ask yourself, which I'm sure you are already thinking about, are, and some of the key ones here: can you meet the entry requirements? So I'd hope you are looking at or thinking about university courses where the entry requirements are already ones that you are on target to achieve, or maybe just that slight stretch where you could push yourself a little bit further and maybe reach one that's kind of grades that are maybe slightly higher. Career goals and what do you want to get out of the degree? I'm going to lump those two together. So what we encourage you to think about is, are you on course to a specific career? Does the subject take you into a specific field? Anything like that. So do think about what it is that you're particularly going to be going to university to study, and where you see yourself going. Where do you want this opportunity to take you? Does the subject area interest and motivate you? Sounds like an odd one. Sounds like a bit of a weird question to ask you, because you're probably thinking, of course it does. That's why I'm looking at it. But just remember, you're going to be studying this course for potentially 3+ years. So it needs to be a subject area that either diversifies, expands, and will really kind of take you on a different journey, or it's an area that you can see yourself really getting kind of ingrained and embedded into. Remember to check the course content. So just because a course has the same name doesn't necessarily mean it contains the same modules. The syllabuses are all different. There are around about 50,000 different courses at higher education institutions in the UK. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of varieties of courses. You will find lots that are English, maths, science, engineering, similar names, but they will all have something slightly different about them, and that will be the modules and the syllabuses that make them up, or potentially the way that they are taught or assessed. So you can really place your strengths as well with those. And that leads us nicely on to how is a course taught and how much contact time you will get. So how it's taught is quite important. You want to be thinking about how you like to be maybe taught or assessed. It could be exam based, it could be coursework based, it could be any number of things. It could be very practical, and you'll know your skill base and you'll know what works for you. And how much contact time will you get? You are investing an awful lot of time, you're investing an awful lot of money, so it's really key that you make sure that you're getting a good return on that investment. So choosing your university, to reiterate some of the key points again from yesterday's webinar. So probably something that you're already looking towards, but reputation and facilities for the course. You'll be able to find lots of league tables, you'll be able to find lots of websites, and we'll come on to some of those at the end, that will tell you where people rank for potentially engineering facilities, dance facilities, theatre facilities, and what sort of reputation and what sort of league table position they are for certain courses, and maybe even things like teaching quality, relationships with students and teachers. There's any number of different accolades that universities get, and you'll see those as you start to do your research. Student union, student life. So do think about those things that you might be doing in your social time, the city or the town that you're going to live in, the area that you might be in as well. Are there things that can keep you entertained? Is it an area you can see yourself kind of living in for that amount of time? And what the student union offer in terms of clubs and societies and support as well. Availability of accommodation. So hopefully you'll have started to think about whether you want to travel to university and commute, or whether you want to live there, and you'll start to think about, okay, what's the accommodation like? Do they guarantee it for first years? Are they able to offer you kind of opportunities for elsewhere, off campus, on campus, catered, all sorts of things like that. Teaching and assessment methods we've covered. Prospects for graduates, so do look at the league tables that tell you where students have gone on to, and what potentially what courses, what jobs they've gone into, and what career brackets and wage brackets and all sorts of things they've gone into. Large or small universities, so you'll find there are kind of vast differences. The University of Chichester is around about 5,500 students when at full capacity. And then going to the other end of the scale, you can get up into the 30,000s of students in places like Manchester. So you could be part of a very small kind of community feel university, or you could be part of a bigger city base where you'll be able to fade into the difference and just be part of a big lecture theatre. So something that works for lots of different people. Campus or city university, so do you like everything to be in one place? Are you the sort of person who wants to roll out of bed and be at a lecture in a couple of minutes time, or do you want your accommodation to potentially be in a different place to your lecture spaces and your social spaces and bits and pieces, and you might have to travel between? And finally, something that's really important is, and it's highlighted more and more in recent years, is the pastoral support that's on offer to students. So academic stuff in terms of maybe how to write structure essays, how to write bibliographies, how to reference, right the way through to the mental health support, the physical health support, could be money support, student money advice, those sorts of things as well. So do look at all the different things that they offer in terms of support as well. Tips and tricks. So hopefully you've already started to think about some of these things. You may have already attended a UCAS convention, albeit virtual, and maybe in the coming months, fingers crossed, we will be getting back to some face-to-face events. You might be reading prospectuses and campus and course guides. You might be looking at open days, campus tours, taster days. A lot of universities are starting to open these up, and a lot of universities are starting to offer face-to-face opportunities as well. Do go and explore the towns and the cities that you're interested in the universities you're interested in. You again want to be able to live there for 3 years. Check out the halls of residence, look at how you apply for accommodation, all sorts of things like that. Does the degree match all your requirements? Again, as we said earlier, is it got all the things you want? The modules, the units, syllabuses? Does it reach match your career goals? All those sorts of things as well. And ensure you start your application early. Something that's really important is making sure you just get yourself already on that track, already on that process, so that you can kind of do it in a relatively stress-free way, and not be up against too many deadlines when you're potentially also busy with deadlines within school or college. So the part that we are kind of focusing on today, UCAS and the application process. So UCAS is the University and College Admissions Service. So they are a national body that deal with a large number of institutions' applications, and a large number of the applications to kind of higher education institutes and colleges across the country. That's not to say there aren't other kind of ways people apply to university, but this is the main way you will see across the country. So as I said, we're going to talk about things like deadlines and dates and timelines. We're going to talk about some kind of jargon and bits and pieces, and some of the terminology that you might hear as you go through this process. So first things first, something that UCAS have invested in and really worked on in the last few years is the UCAS Hub, and it's something that will bring all different aspects of your research stage and your kind of your initial stages together in one place. It brings together the UCAS search, so you can start to look at subjects and courses really easily. It will also have a virtual notepad, so you can start to save anything that you think, oh, I want to go back to that and I want to look at that again, or that'll serve as a reminder. It's somewhere you can save all those sorts of things. It will also introduce you to a whole world of apprenticeships, and it might be all the way through to degree level apprenticeships that you're interested in. There are lots and lots of opportunities on there to search for those sorts of things as well. The personal statement builder, something that is integral to the UCAS process. You will have to write a personal statement and sell yourself to universities and tell them why you want to be on that course and why you're the best person for that course. So there is lots of information and help and support about that. The tariff calculator. So for those of you doing A levels and BTECs, you will have different points as assimilated to the grades that you will get, and those are what we call the tariff. So A, B, C, all those sorts of things will equate to different points, and those are the UCAS points that universities use to set entry requirements. You might want to chat to students at key universities that you're interested in, and you'll find that via a system called UniBuddy. A lot of universities have got those embedded into their websites, and it's also part of the UCAS hub as well. Dates and deadlines, some of the ones that we talk about today, are also on this website, and they have a lot of other key information and key deadlines, and they are the most up-to-date deadlines, so do use the UCAS hub for that. And they also run different live events at different points throughout the year. So they might cover personal statements at some points, they might cover apprenticeships at some points. They've done some live events called UCAS Discovery and looked at accommodation and different things like that as well. So lots of exciting stuff and lots of stuff to help you on your journey. So steps to filling in your UCAS app or a UCAS application. You will initially register with UCAS, and you may find that your schools and colleges are going to be doing sessions around this, and they're going to be able to help you with the early stages of that part of it. Once you're registered, you will begin to work your way through a series of steps, and each of those steps are kind of detailed here, but completing things like your details, and that could be addresses, contact numbers, all sorts of bits and pieces like that. Email addresses are one of the important ways that they will keep in touch with you. So not only UCAS, but also the universities or the colleges that you're applying to. And most importantly, make sure that you use an up-to-date email address that you have access to post finishing school and college, because one of the things I see a lot of is people using their school or college email, and then when they finish, it might not necessarily be easily accessible to them. So do use something that you can easily access anywhere, not just within school and college. You'll be asked lots of different questions about your personal circumstances. It could be things like how you plan to fund your studies. That's not because UCAS do student finance, that's through Student Finance England, but it is so that they can kind of give a heads up and maybe signpost you to other information. They may ask if you want to nominate anyone to have access to your application. So you could ask for a parent, a carer, or a tutor or a teacher to also have access to it. And they may also ask other questions about things like other forms of support that you might need to apply or once you're at university. So yeah, do answer those questions as honestly and detailed as you can. You will add your education history, so you'll be adding things like your GCSEs, any other qualifications you have, and you'll also be putting in things like your predicted grades, or your school or college will input your predicted grades should they need to as well. You might be able to add an employment history if you've had part-time jobs or you've volunteered, or indeed if you've had full-time jobs where you might not be currently in school or college. So they'll ask you lots of questions to do with that. You'll then begin to select your course choices, and you can go back and forth between the different stages. So you might come back to your course choices once you've firmed them up a little bit more and you've visited some of those universities, but we'll talk about more of how many choices you get later on. And then you'll write your personal statement. And as I said, this will be one of the key points where you get to sell yourselves to universities or institutions. Unless courses are highly subscribed, particularly vocational or kind of very practical based, you may not get a chance to be interviewed or auditioned. This could be the one chance that you get to show off kind of your skill base to the university. So it's really important you write it in an effective way. And then you will submit your application, but this isn't necessarily a point to worry. Once you click submit, it will go to your school or college if you're part of one, and you will have a buzzword that you're given which links it to your school or college, and this is where your teachers or your tutors or advisors will then look at it, and they might highlight a few things you need to change, and then they will do the all-important reference, and that reference is something that will a tutor or a subject teacher might write for you to tell us a bit more about yourself and a bit more about your background and your suitability for the course. So quite a few steps, but it does take you through it in a nice, easy way. And on to some key dates that you will need to know. So these are kind of months on this scale from us, but there are some key dates and deadlines within it. And there is also the UCAS website that has a lot more key dates that you might be willing to, that you might want to go and have a look at and firm up a little bit more. So hopefully at the moment you're in your initial research stages and you're looking at the institutions that you might be interested in. Hopefully you're starting to think about attending open days, whether that be virtual or physical. You might have even thought about attending things such as taster days or masterclasses as well, to get a feel for the actual course and the tutors that might be teaching you. You are also going to start to begin to think about your personal statement. I'm sure schools and colleges are starting to say to you about those. They might have even run sessions or kind of workshops with universities already. And that will kind of go on for quite a few months, where you might do kind of quite a few reiterations of your personal statement. And you might rewrite it several times, or you might get it right in a couple of times. It's all very different to lots of different people. So don't base your experiences on others. November, so June to November time, you're thinking about visiting those open days and narrowing down your choices. That you might find open days go a little bit later than that. Some go into December, so just keep an eye on the institution's websites that you're interested in and get yourself booked in for those. Albeit some might be virtual, you will probably have the opportunity to do some kind of face-to-face visits as well. For those who are interested in Oxbridge, so Oxford or Cambridge, dentistry, medicine or veterinary science, you have the earlier deadline of October the 15th. So in relation to that, you will also have an earlier deadline within your school or college where they will ask for it to be in so they can write your references. So do check with your school or college about the internal deadline as well. But October the 15th is when you will submit it to UCAS. January the 26th is the official UCAS deadline for all other courses, and this is for equal consideration. So this is where we say any that come in before that date and up to that date will all get equal consideration. If they come in after that date, then obviously they will be kind of behind everyone else's application. January to April, you'll start to receive offers from universities, and there are some key dates that you will need to know around that for when you need to make your decisions. But do check the UCAS website out for those, as they change slightly each year. But you will receive your offers from universities, and you will start to make decisions on whether you want to accept their offers, and you will begin to choose your firm and your insurance choice of universities. And I'll explain what the firm and the insurance choice is as we get to that slide. You'll then begin to look at and apply for finance and accommodation. Finance kind of opens earlier on in the year, probably between kind of March time onwards. So do keep a lookout if you're applying for finance. The deadline is not necessarily the same each year, but it does open, and the portal is on a government website that you can then start to put together your application. Universities will all have their own accommodation systems or portals which you will apply for accommodation. So you will also hear from them telling you when you can start to apply for that. July, clearing opens, and you may have heard of clearing before. Clearing is where all other available courses at universities are kind of advertised. And for those who haven't necessarily got a place at another institution, they can start to look at applying for the spaces that are left, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And then August is results day, where hopefully you'll get that all important envelope with good news in, and be able to accept those offers from your universities or colleges. As it says at the bottom, just one note to think about though, do check school and college deadlines for applications so they can write your references. They will nag you, and they will probably keep on saying, make sure you meet the deadline, and it is quite important because there will be, for a lot of schools and colleges, quite a high volume of applications coming in, so they want to make sure they give everyone enough time to get them reviewed and looked at. So carrying on with the theme of kind of bits and pieces that you'll need to know about UCAS. All applications will need to be made through the UCAS website. So as I said earlier, there are a few exceptions, and you can apply directly to some institutions, but most of the time you're encouraged to apply through UCAS. You will have a maximum of 5 choices, and that could be 5 different universities, or it could be just 5 courses, different courses, and they could potentially be at a couple of the same universities, as long as it's 5 different courses. You'll have some choice restrictions, so medicine, veterinary and dentistry, you can choose a maximum of 4 courses and then 1 unrelated course, and that unrelated course could be totally different to any of those ones. You'll have one course choice at either the University of Oxford or the University of Cambridge if you're choosing that, so you'll hear it called Oxbridge quite often, but you can have one choice of course at those places. Simultaneous considerations, and that means that universities all get your application at the same time. So universities will receive your application for each of the 5 choices at the same time. Invisibility, so universities cannot see who else you've applied to, so we wouldn't know as the University of Chichester, we wouldn't know you were applying to us for psychology, for example, and also another university, so that hopefully it avoids any unnecessary bias. And there is also a cost involved in applying through UCAS. So currently it's £20 for one choice and £26 for up to 5 choices. But do check out their website, as if that changes, they will be the first place to update that information. After you click submit, so one of those nerve-wracking moments where you've got it all together and you're thinking, okay, now I've got to press submit, and you've got to pluck up that courage to click submit. You will, as I said, click submit, and you'll have put in a buzzword if you're part of a school or college, and they will receive your application first just to check it over, to put any references in and those sorts of bits before it then goes onward to the universities that you're interested in. They will then assess your application and make one of the following decisions. So this is where I was talking about the offers that they will make you. So an unconditional offer is if you meet all of the criteria that they want, or they are criteria that they've set, then they will give you an unconditional offer and they'll say, we'd love to have you. If they want you to meet some specific conditions, so for example, results in your exams or other relevant experience, then they will set you what is called a conditional offer, and you will obviously have to meet those qualifications. You may unfortunately get a rejection, and if your application is not suitable, then they will say, sorry, but we don't feel at this time you are appropriate for the course. And they may also invite you to an interview or audition, so you might be required to attend a mandatory interview, and that could be things like teaching, social work, or it could be things like sports courses. It could be music, it could be theatre, it could be dance, any number of things that have interviews or auditions. And then you will need to choose a firm and an insurance choice, and we'll come on to what that means in a second. So, making your choices. The firm choice is the first choice you have. So that's the place that you most want to go to. It's your ultimate university where you think, yep, that's the one for me. So that's your firm choice. And your insurance choice is the choice you'd want if you don't necessarily meet the conditions of your firm choice. So we would usually recommend that you choose a university with slightly lower entry requirements, maybe slightly lower UCAS tariff points. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Clearing opens on the 5th of July, and as I explained earlier, clearing is that chance if you haven't been given any other offers or haven't been any other offers made to you, then you can utilise clearing. You can use it if you're applying after the 30th of June but before October the 19th, and you didn't receive any other offers or none that you wanted to accept. You didn't meet the conditions of any offers that were made, or you've declined your firm place. So universities turn into a hub of activity, and we all have kind of call centres where we take lots of student calls over that period, generally around the A-level BTEC results day, so that you can kind of call up and say, I'd really like to apply for your course, and then we have a kind of conversation on the phone and connect you with different academics and lecturers who can then make you an offer to attend the university for potentially an interview, or at least a look around just to make sure it is the right place for you. Another option, if you so need to use it, is UCAS Extra. This opens on the 25th of February right through to the 4th of July, and you can use Extra if you've included your 5 choices, you've received your decisions but you weren't accepted, or you've declined the offers that you've received, so you've turned the offers down and said no thank you. But you didn't use all your choices initially, or you didn't use your choices initially, so before the 30th of June that needs to happen. So it's a chance for you, just that extra chance to apply to extra courses one at a time, and see if you can find some other places that will make you an offer. Finally, coming on to those useful websites I've talked about across the presentation. So you'll find UCAS is your main one. UCAS is the one that I've talked about throughout with the hub, and where you will make your main application. What Uni is a good one to start to compare courses, universities, league tables, all those sorts of things that I've talked about. discoveruni.gov.uk is a really good one to understand the latest kind of statistics, or it's where they put a lot of the surveys that students fill in their final years, where they'll say 70% were satisfied with the teaching, 70% have gone on to do careers in the field that they studied. So you'll get to understand where graduates go and what graduates think about their course. Uni Guide, another one that helps you to compare across the board. Student Room, more of an interactive one with students from institutions, so you can ask and get a student experience. And then prospects.ac.uk is one which is more of a career focused one, and it might be that you know the career you want to get to, but you're not quite sure on the steps or the process that you might need to get there, and you'll be able to look at kind of the routes and options, and that might help you then to decide on the course that you might be interested in to study at university. So some really good different websites, and there are many more out there that you will find. They're just a few of the key ones that we would recommend. So finally, before I open up to any questions, you can contact us on either outreach@chi.ac.uk, which is the student recruitment and outreach team, so we can answer any questions you may have or help you with bits and pieces. And then you've also got study here at chi.ac.uk, and you can ask again any questions, or you can be kind of asking very specific things that might be about studying at the University of Chichester. So I'm going to open it up to questions there, and I'm just going to open up my Q&A tab just to make sure and see what's come in. I can see Megan's popped one up that we had earlier in the day. That's a good one for us to that came in earlier in the day. Sorry, that we had answers for as well. So what happens if I apply for 5 courses but don't want an insurance choice? You can go down that route, but we would recommend that you always have an insurance choice, because you want that route of backup, albeit there is also clearing and there is also extra, and clearing is also that backup. So if you do get all the way to your results day and you think, oh no, what do I do? Haven't got the results, then there are other options, but we will always recommend that you use your firm and your insurance choice. So you use both of those options. If anyone wants to pop questions into the chat now, please do feel free to, or if you'd like to email either of those contacts on the board as well with any questions, then please do feel free to. But thank you very much for listening. I'll take the stunned silence in the chat as no questions, but like I say, please do feel free to contact us on any of those details there. You can contact us on our social media channels, which are on our website, and you can also visit chi.ac.uk/chat, where you can chat to our students who are from all different courses across the university as well, and can give you that real life example and that real life experience as well. So thank you very much for listening today.